Welcome to the Big Sky Astrology Podcast with your host, astrologer and author, April Elliott Kent.
Hello, invisible friend. April here, and the date today is September 15th, 2025. Welcome to episode 312 of the Big Sky Astrology Podcast. This week, Venus makes sweet music with Mars, enters Virgo, and finds beauty in unexpected places with Uranus. Mercury aspects Sirius Saturn, enters diplomatic Libra, gives voice to Neptune, and gains inspiration from Uranus before getting down and dirty with Pluto. The Sun's face-off with Saturn dominates the Virgo new moon solar eclipse at the intense 29th degree. And there is so much to cover in the sky this week that there won't be time for a listener question. But I will be recording one for my YouTube channel, and we will put the link in the show description for that. Venus sextiles Mars on Monday, September 15th at 8:04 p.m. Pacific Time. At 25 degrees, 51 minutes Leo and Libra. Venus symbolizes what we desire. What is it that we crave that makes us feel complete? And Mars shows how we go about getting it. With Venus in Leo and Mars in Libra, which are both creative and artistic signs, this transit has the potential to unlock a lot of inspiration. Sextile aspects represent opportunities, but they do ask us to put in a little bit of effort to tap into their magic. So if you're a writer, write. If you're a musician, play your heart out. If you are a visual artist, this is a wonderful week to create something that really might blow people away, and chances are good that your efforts will be warmly received. This Venus-Mars connection can also stir attraction, whether in the form of romantic excitement or simply through someone or something that sparks your competitive and creative energy. Venus can also show up as financial matters, and this aspect can be a motivator for working hard for more money. Just remember, the pursuit itself matters as much as the prize. You won't enjoy the spoils if getting them requires that you treat others poorly. The Sabian symbol for Venus is 26 Leo, a rainbow. It's about the promise of success and the certainty that life fulfills its own promise of joy. And Mars's symbol is 26 Libra, an eagle and a large white dove turning one into the other. It is about mastery, about bringing together love, will, and intelligence to create something not only beautiful, but lasting. Mercury opposes Saturn on Wednesday, September 17th at 10:47 a.m. Pacific Time at 28 degrees, 46 minutes Virgo and Pisces. The Sabian symbol for Mercury is 29 Virgo, a man gaining secret knowledge from a paper he is reading, while Saturn's symbol is 29 Pisces, a prism. So here we have two different ways of gaining knowledge and insight. One is very much of the nature of Mercury in Virgo, where we're reading something from a physical piece of paper. And the other one is much more of the nature of Pisces, a prism, which talks about insights and deep truths that can be revealed when light passes through the right lens. Mercury represents the stories we tell ourselves about who we are and how we frame our journey. But when Saturn's involved, a reality check is in order. Are we telling the truth about ourselves, our goals, our lives? Or have we been spinning that story so much that we've lost track of what's real and what isn't? Each of us has chapters of our lives we would prefer to forget. But this transit can offer a chance to revisit them with fresh perspective and deeper understanding. On a more practical level, Mercury opposing Saturn can show up as delays in travel, which is ruled by Mercury, slowdowns in the financial markets, or discouraging news that comes to light. Relationships with siblings, neighbors, or those in your immediate environment could play a role in helping you get to a clearer understanding. Thursday, September 18th, is an incredibly busy day for Mercury. First, it enters Libra at 3:06 a.m. Pacific Time. Mercury in Libra is characterized by grace, balance, and tact. This is an excellent time for negotiations and for handling difficult interpersonal situations, persuading others to see things from your perspective. But Libra's desire for balance can sometimes show up as argumentativeness, the tendency to play devil's advocate just for the sake of exploring both sides. Assertiveness or decisiveness can sometimes be harder to come by too while Mercury is in Libra. It'll be in this sign through October 6th, giving us a few weeks to refine the way we express ourselves, find fairness in our communications, and to realize that while we may never be perfectly balanced, it's the striving to be more so that is the important thing. After entering Libra, Mercury forms a flurry of aspects on Thursday, September 18th. The first is an opposition to Neptune at 3:01 p.m. Pacific Time. That's at 0 degrees 53 minutes Libra and Aries. On a day like this, intuition tends to be very strong. And particularly with Mercury in Libra, it is a lovely transit for artwork, for love, and for spending time in a more spiritual frame of mind, such as in meditation, for example. On the other hand, this is not the very best energy for anything that requires a purely logical or analytical approach. Then at 9:52 p.m. Pacific Time, Mercury trines Uranus at 1 degree 23 minutes Libra and Gemini. Often when Mercury is aspecting Uranus, we find ourselves suddenly blurting out things that we might normally never say. We want to feel free to say exactly what's on our mind in the way that we want to say it. Now, Mercury is in Libra, which tends to be a little gentler, a little more polite, but not always. Remember, Libra is about balance. And if the people around you are being, say, extremely polite, civilized, careful in what they say, you might very well find yourself speaking in the exact opposite way. This is also a transit of awakening. You may come into contact with a person, a book, a movie, some catalyst that stirs a deep desire for freedom and independence. You could come away with a clearer understanding of what it is in your life that needs to change, even if it's just the need to change your mind. And at 11:27 p.m. Pacific Time, Mercury trines Pluto at 1 degree 30 minutes Libra and Aquarius. Anytime Mercury connects with Pluto, even if it's in a really nice aspect like a trine, it can bring up stark truths. When we find that a lot of the things we've been telling ourselves about ourselves and about others can actually be untrue, whether those ideas were wrong from the start or things have just changed over time. Mercury and Pluto won't let you hide from the deeper realities that get dredged up. Escapism will not work here. With Pluto, the only way out is through. There is no avoiding what we need to face. This is a transit of profound insight if we're willing to confront those uncomfortable truths. If there is something difficult that you've been needing to confront with somebody in your life, this is an appropriate transit to take care of that, because Mercury is about how we express ourselves, and Pluto insists that we be completely honest, however difficult that might be in the moment. On Friday, September 19th, Venus enters Virgo at 5:39 a.m. Pacific Time. Venus is traditionally in her fall in Virgo because she is exalted in the opposite sign, Pisces. But in Virgo, Venus finds her own kind of beauty, the beauty of simplicity. This is a Venus who delights in a pantry full of healthy, organic staples, neatly organized shelves, office supplies, well-made tools, and all the unglamorous necessities that quietly make life run smoothly. Venus describes how we socialize. Socially, Venus in Virgo favors casual, low-key get-togethers, ideally outdoors. So a potluck with friends, a hike in the fresh air, a picnic, building something together, or cooking a big shared meal. These productive shared activities bring the most joy during this time. Venus will be in Virgo until October 13th, offering a few weeks to appreciate life's simple pleasures and the ways that practicality can provide its own form of beauty. Venus squares Uranus on Saturday, September 20th at 8:41 a.m. Pacific Time at 1 degree 22 minutes Virgo and Gemini. The Sabian symbol for Venus is 2 Virgo, a large white cross upraised, and this suggests devotion to a higher calling. And the symbol for Uranus is 2 Gemini, Santa Claus filling stockings furtively. Together, these remind us of unexpected blessings that can appear in surprising ways. This square can symbolize the desire to avoid social gatherings, especially with Venus in Virgo, but at the same time often brings a lot of invitations. When you get out in public, it can feel as though you don't fit in, but if you find yourself in conflict with others, it can actually serve a purpose to push you to see things from another point of view, one that ultimately encourages greater personal freedom and authenticity. Venus aspecting Uranus can bring changes and disruptions in your finances or even in relationships. And this is especially true if a relationship has been feeling stagnant. You're much more apt to want to change it in some way. Also on September 20th at 10:46 p.m. Pacific Time, the Sun opposes Saturn at 28 degrees 30 minutes Virgo and Pisces. You might feel as if you are carrying the weight of Saturn himself on your shoulders at this aspect. You could have feelings of being unappreciated for all of the heavy lifting that you are doing. And others may accuse you of being too serious. And all of this is more likely, I think, if you tend to have some planets in your chart close to this 28th degree of Virgo and Pisces. The Sun in opposition to Saturn also shines a spotlight on your deepest insecurities. And rather than lashing out when others touch your old wounds, I think it's important to deepen your compassion for yourself. This is especially true, I think, with the Sun opposed Saturn in Pisces, which is a very empathetic sign, but often we tend to be very tough on ourselves when planets are opposing Saturn in any sign. The best way to handle this Saturn tone is with persistence. Just show up, keep your head down, and focus on your work. The important thing to remember when the Sun is in aspect to Saturn is to keep track of what is actually your work to do, instead of taking on work that more naturally belongs to others. And now it's time for the moon report. And we begin, as always, with the week's major lunation. This week, it is the second Virgo new moon, and this one is a solar eclipse on Sunday, September 21st at 12:54 p.m. Pacific Time. It's at 29 degrees 5 minutes Virgo, and the Sabian symbol for this eclipse point is 30 Virgo, a false call unheard in attention to immediate service. This points to the power of concentration and the ability to reject what is distracting you from matters that require immediate attention. This is the second of 2 consecutive Virgo new moons. The first fell on August 22nd at 0 degrees 23 minutes Virgo. But this one carries quite a different energy. It's at what we call the anaretic degree, 29 degrees, the last degree of the sign. And that tends to speak of an influence that's a little bit volatile. We've all been feeling the lessons of planets hitting the anaretic degrees this past spring and summer as Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Jupiter switched signs. So they're at the anaretic degree, and then they switch to a new sign. So I think this new moon is asking us to pay very close attention. Mercury rules this solar eclipse, which means that words, communication, thoughts, and even movement have extra power around this time. The new moon point is trine Uranus, and that means some events could arrive suddenly or unexpectedly, amplifying the sense that changes in the air. And this is true, of course, of solar eclipses in general. Eclipses represent moments in our journey when we have pursued a course as far as we can in a particular direction, and that it is now time to change direction. And that's especially true because this solar eclipse is conjunct the moon's south node. And an eclipse that's close to the south node especially emphasizes endings, release, letting go, and in this case, of any of the difficult qualities that we associate with Virgo, of being a little bit too perfectionistic or judgmental. And that includes being judgmental of ourselves as well. So at this solar eclipse, it's time to let go of those tendencies and to move in the direction of the North Node, which is in Pisces, a sign that speaks of acceptance and willingness to go with the flow. The interesting thing about solar eclipses is that they repeat on about the same day of the year and close to the same degree of the zodiac every 19 years. Previously, there was a solar eclipse on September 22nd, 2006, at 29 degrees Virgo. That might be a time that you'll be looking back at now to consider what was happening at that time and how you handled things that came up, and how you may be repeating some of those patterns now or needing to resolve things that happened during that time. Previous to that, there was a solar eclipse on September 23rd, 1987 at 29 degrees Virgo. And that would be another time period that would be connected in some way to this one. This is the new moon in a new lunar phase family cycle that will unfold over the coming 3 years. And because this is an eclipse, it will be a really vibrant and compelling pattern to watch over the next few years. At this new moon, as you're contemplating matters of service, of being helpful to others, of taking care of your health, all of which are connected with the Virgo eclipse, know that anything that you resolve to do at this time carries a special power, because every 9 months for 3 years, there will be an important lunation near this degree to help you take this new moon's intentions to the next level. The first quarter in this lunar phase family cycle will be on June 21st, 2026. It's at 0 degrees 32 minutes Libra, just about a degree away from this eclipse. That's a time for taking an important step to move forward on this new moon's intentions. 9 months after that, there will be a full moon on March 22nd, 2027 at 1 degree 35 minutes Libra. And that's when we gain a lot more clarity on what we initiated at this new moon. And 9 months later, there's the last quarter moon on December 20th, 2027 at 28 degrees 14 minutes Virgo. And that is a final action point in this lunar phase family cycle that gives us an opportunity to better understand what we have been doing along this path and how we can make any changes in our direction over the final 9 months of this lunar phase family cycle. Let's look at the void of course moon periods for this week. On Tuesday, September 16th, the moon in Cancer trines Saturn at 8:14 p.m. Pacific time, is void of course for 2 hours 6 minutes, and then enters Leo at 10:20 p.m. Pacific time. The trine between the moon and another planet as the moon goes void of course offers a gift. And this would be a good time to energetically fortify your living space, because the moon is in Cancer, with some kind of ritual. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. And in fact, Saturn usually prefers simplicity. You might just light an incense stick or sage wand, some kind of cleansing herb, and let the smoke go into all the nooks and crannies of your home. Think about it making the space energetically sparkling clean. Imagine bringing health, happiness, and prosperity into your home with this ritual. On Friday, September 19th, the moon in Leo conjoins Venus at 5:21 a.m. Pacific time. It's void of course for a super quick 2 minutes, and then enters Virgo at 5:23 a.m. This is a very, very short aspect from Moon to Venus in Leo. So again, keep things simple. If you're on the west coast of the U.S., this transit occurs early in the morning. But if you're awake, just grab a pen and paper as you're sipping your morning coffee. Brainstorm, maybe write or doodle anything that comes to mind. Pull a tarot card and analyze its imagery, thinking about how that card could be relevant in the day ahead. Do a crossword puzzle. These are quick, fun morning activities to get your Leo creative juices flowing. On Sunday, September 21st, the moon in Virgo conjoins the sun at 12:54 p.m. Pacific time. It's void, of course, for 1 hour, 47 minutes, and enters Libra at 2:41 p.m. This is the new moon, solar eclipse, the moon conjunct the sun. We've gone over some suggestions of how you might spend this time, but if I were to pick one thing, it would be an act of devotion, showing your devotion to your plans and your intentions by examining the practical details of your long and short-term goals. As I said, unfortunately, we don't have time for a listener question today, but do continue to send your questions. I'm going to record one this week for my YouTube channel, as I said, so we will give you a link to that in the show description. I also wanted to tell you the winners of the Podathon drawing. We had 3 moon shadow eclipse reports that are going to Daniel Christensen, Ellen Sturm, and Beth Terrence, 2 60-minute personal readings to Mimi Thatch and Martina Papenchak, and our grand prize winner of a 90-minute personal reading is Adele Coyle. Our warmest congratulations to all of them. And of course, anybody who donated during the Podathon will receive access to my periodic videos for donors only. I have been doing them at the new moon for most of the last 12 months. I might continue down that road this year, but in any event, you will be receiving information about those as they come up. Well, that is everything on the show sheet, so I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you for listening to the Big Sky Astrology podcast. If you like what you're hearing, please be sure to subscribe or follow in your app of choice. Leave a rating or a review, and please spread the word by telling an astrology-loving friend about the podcast. You can read show notes and full transcripts and leave your comments about each episode at bigskyastropod.com. Thanks again to everyone who showed support during the recent Podathon. On each episode, I'm thanking some of my financial donors by name. This week, let's give a Big Sky Astrology podcast shout out to the aforementioned Adele Coyle and Mary Angeline. Mary and Adele, thank you so much for listening to the podcast and for supporting the show with your donations. If you'd like to support the show and receive access to my bonus episodes, just go to bigskyastropod.com. You can make a contribution of $10 or more anytime this year. That's it for this episode. Join me again bright and early next Monday. And until then, keep your feet on the ground and your eyes on the stars.
Thank you for listening. To learn more about April Elliott Kent, visit her website, bigskyAstrology.com, where you can sign up for her newsletter, read her thoughtful essays, find out more about her books and classes, or book a personal astrology reading. That's all for today. If you're enjoying the podcast, please take a moment to follow or subscribe to stay current with new episodes. And please leave a rating or review. You can follow Big Sky Astrology on Facebook or Twitter and Big Sky Astrology April on Instagram. Thanks again for being here, and we hope you'll join us next time.